Good morning and welcome to the regular meeting of City Council for Tuesday, April 5th, 2022. All meetings will be live streamed on the city website and on the City Channel Pittsburgh YouTube channel. Will the clerk please call the roll?
Mr. Coghill, Ms. Gross, Mr. Kraus, Mr. Lavelle.
Here.
Mr. O'Connor.
Here.
Ms. Strasburger.
Here.
Mr. Wilson.
Here.
Mrs. Cal Smith. Reverend Burgess, Chair.
Aye.
5 members
Aye,
present.
present. I'm here. All right, as we join from our remote locations, please rise, face the flag, put your hand on your heart or salute if you're in the military for our Pledge of Allegiance in a moment of silence. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you very much. Our next order of business is proclamation. We have one.
Council President Cal Smith presents Bill number 239. Now therefore be it resolved that the Council of the City of Pittsburgh does hereby congratulate the U.S. Province of the Congregation of the Holy Spirit for 150 years of service to God's people. And be it further resolved that the Council of the City of Pittsburgh does hereby declare Wednesday, April 6, 2022 to be Spiritans Day in the City of Pittsburgh.
Need a motion to approve.
So move.
Your second. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposers, nay. Ayes have it, so is ordered. Our next order of business is public comment. I'd like to remind everyone that the rules of council state that comments are limited to matters of concern, official action, or deliberation, which may eventually be before council. Again, public comment is limited. I want to start saying that often so you get used to it before we change the rules and start cutting off people who do not stay on topic. The idea of public comment is only on matters that are before this council, not personal opinions of other things. All right, and so profanity, as far as we can determine, at least in English, and je préfère say entre peu, languages that we know will not be permitted. May we have the first speaker, please? We have registered speakers. My first registered speaker is Dr. Ronald Lynn Miller. Sorry, Dr. Miller, I didn't have that sheet in front of me.
Dr. Ronald Lynn Miller, Beltuver, Providence, Rhode Island. Roma, Italia, globalintelligencesociety.org, USGIS National Candidate 2024 presidency. Free speech and vote by voter verification are key. April 2022, European Intelligence Month. I and the Global Intelligence Society are seeking a link with Roma, Italia. The United States Constitution, Bill of Rights, Amendment 1, quote, no law abridging freedom of speech applies to the Council of the City of Pittsburgh. Any local Pittsburgh ordinance or law is subordinate to this U.S. anti-abridgment of speech law. An abridgment of U.S. Pittsburgh citizen speech exists in Pittsburgh City Council Rule 3.4C on public comment. I and the GIS view any abridgment or censorship of speech to be unconstitutional, no matter what happens in other states or other cities. Pittsburgh Rule 3.4C is itself unconstitutional and must be removed. In addition, Pittsburgh Rule 3.4C specifies no prohibition on profanity. To say so is, in our view, unlawful. There is no definition of profanity, no set of profane speech expressions, no enforcement penalties are in the rule. Concerns of council include free speech, public comment. If there was something improvisational, sick amendments about how the US founders dealt with citizen speech, fusing elements from the English 1688 Declaration of Rights, the rise of the House of Commons and John Locke, similar to Diana Krall fusing enigmatics of Billie Holiday, Shirley Horn, and Clifford Brown, and I'll Make It Up As I Go, or Roberto Rossellini's pro-Garibaldi and anti-old new Caesarean ellipses in Roma Città Aperta. Their whiteness template positively, unequivocally fused any abridgment of citizen speech. Quote, anyone has the right to exprimere liberamente their thoughts in speech and writing of any other form of communication in the La Costituzione della Repubblica Italiana, 1948, Article 21. So when Pina is killed in the street, it's about Article 21. This council really should make no abridgment of freedom of speech up as you go. If someone says, I hate that Dr. Miller, I hate what he says, I want to kill him, that's protected speech. But if someone says, I want to kill that Dr. Miller here during public comment, that is not protected speech and may be subjected to prosecution and punishment. Watts versus US, 1969.
Thank you very much. Our next registered speaker is Naomi Mullen. All right.
Good morning. Good morning. Dr. Miller is correct about free speech. Shady trees, not shady deals in Bon Air. This was read at my husband's funeral. Michael J. Mullen Reflection by Battalion Chief Douglas Praskovich. Retired Deputy Chief Michael Mullen touched the lives of many people. His uncompromising dedication to his sworn duty to provide for the safety of the citizens of Pittsburgh was truly exceptional and one that should be emulated by every firefighter. He loved sharing his knowledge of firefight and all its many aspects to make our firefighters safer, smarter, and more efficient on the fire ground. Mike knew most of the firefighters on the entire Pittsburgh Bureau of Fire by their first name and was always approachable regardless of rank. If you had a question, he would stop what he was doing to answer it. He worked tirelessly, but also energetically his entire career in pursuit of more knowledge. His legacy will serve our citizens and firefighters for years to come. Mike was a loving and compassionate husband, father, brother, relative, and friend. Michael J. Mullen lived a full life as his obituary so accurately described. Mike was passionate, tireless, dedicated, highly conscientious, and caring. Well done, Michael. Well done. Rest in peace, my friend. The Michael Mullen Memorial Green Space is a needed reparation for Bon Air. Do your part. Shady trees, not shady deals in Bon Air. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Next speaker, please. Ms. Ludwig.
Thank you, Reverend Burgess. And good morning. My name is Les Ludwig from Squirrel Hill. And I've come here this morning to put my thinking cap before you. And as usual, I'm specifying so that it's clearly understood in freedom of speech that I expect to be compensated. And you'll say, well, what the heck are you coming up with this time, Les? We have a problem. It's cold water and a place to put it so that it can be treated and put back into the river system. We're talking about billions of dollars in engineering. And I believe that I know where we can store a major portion of that water at no additional cost right now. So therefore, I'm offering a suggestion that government should come to this table and maybe I can add some expertise, as I already have in terms of being totally ignored by the Post-Gazette and the Trib over the years since 2003. And it's high time that the table gets leveled. There's over $1 million that has come in to the Shade account that resulted from my thinking in the Ravenstall administration and was written eventually by Bill Peduto. To this day, I haven't even had thank you. It's contemptible. And anyone who was a leader during that period to today owes me a thank you. I haven't given up. I'm only 89 plus, and the clock is running. But till my last breath, I'll keep coming with ideas, because that's what I'm supposed to do as a citizen. And you're supposed to pick them up and make them work. Concept is the first step in progress. If you don't have any new thinking and you keep doing the same thing over and over again, what do you get? $75 more per load for hauling rubbish, which I haven't heard from you, Counselor. Thank you.
Next speaker, please.
My name is Yvonne F. Brown. I live in the Hill District, Katie Wervis Tires. I have a problem, and I think it's because the way this city is still being run. I had my daughter to start calling at 9 o'clock because I had lost these papers to see when we were having the next meeting. 9 o'clock. And then I had my other daughter call. 9:30, nobody called you back. This is the city. And I do believe that if you say you start at 9, it should be at 9. I worked with the Department of Public Welfare. I was at one time the clerk receptionist. We were there at 9 o'clock. You were expected to be there. You have a city. You can have an employers that, hey, Les, excuse me, he can't hear. And I don't know. But anyway, I just think that just need to step up. And I want you to understand the reason why I still keep coming down here is to try to prevent deaths. Okay, Mr. Burgess said you can't speak. When my granddaughter took peanuts and a little girl almost died in school, I think that I could bring to the public to let other parents know that there are children that could die from just smelling the nuts. But he says you must be on this table. Well, see, what you do is pick out what you want to take and speak about, and won't speak about what we want to speak about. It took a whole year. The signs on Bedford was falling. We have a blind man that walks down there, and I was telling him that he could not take and go down that hill anymore, because he had said, he walks the hill. He lives in my building. Another thing I want you to understand is this. My time is almost up, but I'm going to still keep coming. I'm very disappointed in you as a council, because I don't believe you deserve all the credit they seem to try to give you, because you have O'Connor, the one lady that worked with children, she said, what was this with this baby during proclamations? Okay, the same way with you, Miss Strasburger, when you took 4 months off and came back with a baby 4 months old, and Mr. Krause never said why you were on maternity leave, just kept on saying, excuse the absent member. I said, well, where did she go? Well, she was pregnant, came back with her baby and sat there with the baby and didn't work But with my grandbaby, 5 years old to speak, Mr. Burgess says it's not the time and the place. And my husband heard me when I said you never said it when it was a white child. And I will keep saying it. As long as they're white, you can do whatever you want.
Thank you very much. Is there any other speakers? Please start off with your name and neighborhood. You will be given 3 minutes.
Thank you so much. My name is Nora Rose Parker Carter. I'm a community producer at PCTV Channel 21 and Verizon. My main wish to be here today is I'm looking at Corey and I'm so happy to say to him that in 2018, I went to Hines Hall to see the Temptations and the Four Tops. And when I got done, I went around to the side to interview them to be a part of my program, Profiles in Pittsburgh. And the one man looked at me and said, well, you cannot go up there. And I said, but they need to see me. And he said, no, they don't. I said, no, Mr. Otis Williams needs to see me because if he finds out I'm Joe Parker's sister, he'll be very upset. And he said, well, let's see here. And he called up and he said, go up to 2, go up to 2. And so he looking at me like, how can I just, go up to 2? And when I got there, he came out in this leopard coat that was he was big, right? And I had to look up at him and he said, I'm Otis Williams, how can I help you? I said, well, I'm Joe Parker's sister and I want to speak with you. He said, Joe, my man. And he ran out of the room, started banging on all the doors. Come out, stop hiding from me. And then he finally came back and he said, he's gone, right? I said, yes, sir, he's gone. He said, when? I said, 96. And he just grabbed my face. He said, I see you, I see you. And he wasn't talking to me. He was talking to my brother. He said, I can see you, I can see you. He said, well, how can I help you? I said, well, I think right now, since you knew him like my mother said you did, can I have a hug? And he said, what kind of hug? I said, a bear hug, an Oliver Bear hug. He said, Oliver Bear? I said, yes, I'm from Oliver High School. So he said, come get it. And he gave it to me. So they're coming here on the 14th, which is next Thursday. And I'd like to know that I had spoke with Corey's mother and that. And she said, when they come back again, we need to give them a proclamation because I've seen him so many times. And he said, a proclamation? She said, yes, you deserve it because you have been to Pittsburgh and all over the place. How many times? He said, I have no idea. So I promised her and I promised him that I would see that. And he said, yes, he would really like a proclamation if you want to give it to a Detroit person. So that's why I'm here to know that could we give him a proclamation and maybe the Four Tops too, because they're both been here, I know, at least 16 times in our Pittsburgh area. And that's why I'm here today. And I'm so thankful to say I am proud of everyone on our board. And the most important thing why I'm proud of you is that Nady will hit you every day. But we voted for you. And that's why we want to say from the bottom of our heart, thank you all. Thank you very much.
Any other speakers? Any other speakers? I have sunshine on a cloudy day. When it's cold outside, I have the month of May. Anyway, those of you who are old like me remember the words of that song by the Temptations, famous My Girl song. Being no other further speakers, now we will move to our regular business, the presentation of papers. First of all, myself, Chair of Urban Recreation, Mr. Coggill for me.
Burgess.
Thank you very much, Mr. Coggill.
Councilman Reverend Burgess presents Bill number 240, resolution establishing a Pittsburgh City School District Partnership.
Thank you very much. Mr. Coghill, Chair of Public Works.
No new papers.
Thank you very much. Councilwoman Gross, Chair of Intergovernmental Affairs. Mr. Cross for Ms. Gross.
Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you.
Councilwoman Gross presents Bill number 232, resolution authorizing the mayor and director of the Department of Public Works on behalf of the city to acknowledge and consent to a partial assignment and assumption agreement between the Pennsylvania American Water and the Bureau of Brentwood related to a December 1st, 1949 service area agreement between the Allegheny County Sanitation Authority, the Bureau of Brentwood, and the city of Pittsburgh. Pennsylvania American Water seeks to purchase and operate the Bureau of Brentwood's wastewater collection system. Bill number 233, resolution adopting plan revision to the city of Pittsburgh's official sewer facilities plan for proposed land development located at 807 Ridge Avenue at the parcel number 8E185.
That brings us to council's resident music aficionado, Councilman Kraus, Chair of Human Resources.
No new papers, Mr. Chair.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Councilman Lavelle, Chair of Finance and Law. Thank you very much.
Councilman Lavelle presents Bill number 234, resolution authorizing pursuant to Chapter 210 of the City Code, the mayor and director of the Department of Public Works to accept a donation from the 14th Ward Youth Baseball Association of a batting cage system in Mellon Park, valued at $9,915.83.
Thank you very much. That takes us to Councilman O'Connor. Councilman Lavelle for Councilman O'Connor.
No new papers, Mr. Chair.
Oh, thank you very much. Didn't see you online. Councilwoman Strasburger, Chair of Innovation, Performance and Asset Management.
No new papers, Mr. Chair.
One of those things, right? Councilman Wilson, Chair of Land Use and Economic Development.
Thank you, Mr. President.
Thank you.
Councilman Wilson presents Bill number 235, resolution providing for the designation as a historic structure under Title 11 of the Code of Ordinances, certain site known as the Rodef Salam, located at 4905 Fifth Avenue in Shadyside in the 7th Ward. The owners of the property support the nomination.
Thank you very much. We have some communication from the Chair of Hearings. Council President Smith.
Council President Kell Smith presents Bill number 236, resolution reappointing Alex Matthews as a member of the Ethics Hearing Board for a term to expire April 30th of 2025. Bill number 237, resolution appointing David Quinn as a member of the Ethics Hearing Board for a term to expire April 30th, 2025. Bill number 238, communication from Greg Flizerum, Executive Director of the URA, submitting the report on URA programs and initiatives that support the Pittsburgh food system in accordance with Resolution number 952 of 2021.
Mr. Chair.
Members, what is your pleasure?
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Chair. I would offer up a motion to approve both 236 and 237 and a motion to read, receive, and file on 238.
Can we take them separately? First of all, there's a motion to approve on the table. Is there a second?
Second.
All those in favor signify by saying aye. Opposed, there's nay. Now there is a motion to read, receive, and file. Is there a second?
Second.
Second, property moved in second. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, there's nay. Thank you, Mr. Kraus. That moves us now to unfinished business. Is there any unfinished business before council? Seeing none, the next order of business is report of committee for final action. Councilman R. Daniel Lavelle, Committee on Finance and Law.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Councilman Lavelle presents Bill number 228, report of the Committee on Finance and Law for March 30th, 2022, with an affirmative recommendation. Bill number 168, resolution authorizing the mayor and the city solicitor to enter into a professional services agreement with Exponent, Inc. for professional engineering services in connection with claims and litigation for the Fern Hollow Bridge in an amount not to exceed $175,000. Bill number 196, resolution authorizing the issuance of a warrant in favor of Core Business Technologies in the amount of $2,062.50 for integration with the CSS tax system.
You've heard the reading title of the bill. Is there any discussion on the bill? Mr. Wilson,
Yes, I'd like to make a motion to recommit Bill 196. I'm happy to.
is there a second?
Sure. Second, just very brief.
Brief conversation. Mr. Wilson.
Yeah, last week I brought the director to the table and was asking questions about our new CSS tax system. And this payment would be for whatever cash comes in, how that integrates with the CSS tax system. And I've become aware of issues with the way this new system is working. And I'm meeting with the director this Thursday with a couple of the managers. I'm trying to get to the bottom of what the path is forward for this system that we've purchased, and what, how it's gonna how all the problems will be solved. So if members would vote for this will I think will allow the conversation to be more engaging, since I think we need to really get to the bottom of what's going on here.
Mr. Cross.
No, that's, I appreciate Councilman Wilson's explanation. Happy to support.
The motion to recommit on the table. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposers, nay. The bill is recommitted. Opposers, nay. All right, and that moves us now to the bill is now ready for final action. All in favor of the passage, the bill will vote aye when their name is called. Those opposed will vote no. Will the clerk please call the roll?
Mr. Coghill.
Aye.
Ms. Gross.
Aye.
Mr. Kraus.
Aye.
Mr. Lavelle.
Aye.
Mr. O'Connor.
Aye.
Ms. Strasburger.
Aye.
Mr. Wilson.
Aye.
Mrs. Cal Smith. Reverend Burgess, Chair.
Aye.
Ayes 8, no 0.
The bill, having received the legally required number of votes, is finally passed. That takes us to Councilman Anthony Coghill, Committee on Public Works.
Mr. Chair.
Thank you.
Councilman Coghill presents Bill number 229, reported to the Committee on Public Works for March 30th, 2022 with an affirmative recommendation. Bill number 208, resolution further amending resolution number 647 effective December 23rd of 2020, entitled Resolution Adopting and Approving the 2021 Capital Budget, the 2021 CDBG Program, the 2021 through 2026 Capital Improvement Program by increasing Southside signals by $750,000. Bill number 211, resolution amending resolution number 344 entitled Resolution Providing for a Letter of Amendment to the Agreement with the Pennsylvania Department of Transportation for costs associated with the construction phase of the Southside Signals Project, providing for the payment of municipal incurred costs not to exceed $3,350,000, federally reimbursable to 100%, with a municipal share of Commonwealth incurred costs of $0, to increase the budget authority for the construction phase to $4,090,640, an increase of $740,640. Bill number 212, resolution providing for an agreement for construction services with SET Inc. for the Southside Signals Project at a cost not to exceed $3,280,000.
Thank you very much. You've heard the reading title of the bill. Is there any discussion on the bill? Mr. Kraus.
Yeah, thanks, Mr. Chair. Just briefly, I just want to reiterate my appreciation to members for moving these bills forward. I was thinking the other night when this conversation first began about redoing the signals, especially the intersection of 18th and Josephine, and installing a traffic signal there. I had not even thought about running for council at that time. So that has to be 17, 18 years ago. That's how long this project has been in the works. But we're about to bring it across the home stretch, and it will be significant. Intersections will be reinvented at Sarah, Jane, Mary on our dime, though, not part of this project, Josephine, Mission, Arlington, and Amanda. So it's really quite extensive. All new traffic signals, all new bump outs, everything to create an environment of safety. So it's a great project, and I'm really excited that it's about to launch. and appreciate members' consideration for moving the bills forth.
Any other conversation? No other conversation. The bill is now ready for final action. All in favor of the passage of the bill will vote aye when their name is called. Those opposed will vote no. Will the clerk please call the roll?
Mr. Coghill.
Aye.
Ms. Gross.
Aye.
Mr. Kraus.
Aye.
Mr. Lavelle.
Aye.
Mr. O'Connor.
Aye.
Ms. Strasburger.
Aye.
Mr. Wilson.
Aye.
Mrs. Cal Smith. Reverend Burgess, Chair.
Aye.
Ayes 8, noes 0.
The bill having receiving the legally required number of votes is finally passed. That takes us to Councilman Bobby Wilson, Committee on Land Use and Economic Development.
Thank you, Mr. President.
Thank you, Mr. Wilson.
Councilman Wilson presents Bill number 230, report of the Committee on Land Use and Economic Development for March 30th, 2022, with an affirmative recommendation. Bill number 88, ordinance amending the Pittsburgh Code Title 9 zoning Article 1, Section 90203 zoning map by changing from R1AH residential single unit attached high density to LNC local neighborhood commercial, a portion of one parcel in the Allegheny County block and lot system in the 9th Ward.
You've heard the reading title of the bill. Is there any discussion on the bill? Seeing none, the bill is now ready for final action. All in favor of the passage of the bill will vote aye when their name is called. Those opposed will vote no. Would the clerk please call the roll?
Mr. Coghill.
Aye.
Ms. Gross.
Aye.
Mr. Kraus.
Aye.
Mr. Lavelle.
Aye.
Mr. O'Connor.
Aye.
Ms. Strasburger.
Aye.
Mr. Wilson.
Aye.
Reverend Burgess, Chair.
Aye.
Ayes 8, noes 0.
The bill having received the legally required number of votes is finally passed. Councilwoman Erica Strasburger, Committee on Innovation, Performance, and Asset Management.
Mr. Chair.
Thank you.
Councilperson Strasburger presents Bill number 231, report of the Committee on Innovation, Performance, and Asset Management for March 30th, 2022, with an affirmative recommendation. Bill number 197, resolution authorizing the mayor and director of the Department of Innovation and Performance on behalf of the city to enter into an agreement and amendments thereto with Forrester Research, Inc. to provide IT consulting and research, as well as a wide variety of professional advisory and/or services to modernize and elevate the work of city government at a cost not to exceed $453,764.38.
Further reading title of the bill. Is there any discussion on the bill? Seeing none, the bill is now ready for final action. All in favor of the passage of the bill will vote aye when their name is called. Those opposed will vote no. Will the clerk please call the roll?
Mr. Coghill.
Aye.
Ms. Gross.
Aye.
Mr. Kraus.
Aye.
Mr. Lavelle.
Aye.
Mr. O'Connor.
Aye.
Ms. Strasburger.
Aye.
Mr. Wilson.
Aye.
Reverend Burgess, Chair.
Aye.
Ayes 8, noes
The
0.
bill having received the legally required number of votes is finally passed. Before I ask members, I do have a couple of announcements. This afternoon at 1:30, council will hold a cablecast public hearing on Bill 2021-1707, an ordinance amending the Pittsburgh Code to expand the boundaries of the inclusionary overlay district to Bloomfield and Polish Hill. Speaker registration closes at 1:30. Are you intending to chair that meeting?
I was going to defer to Councilman Wilson and ask him if he was chairing, or if Councilman Smith. I'm certainly happy to chair.
I'm happy to chair. I know this has been, something you've been working on for some time, so I'll defer to you, whatever you'd like to do.
Thank you. I'll be happy to chair, Mr. Wilson.
Thank you very much. Tomorrow morning at 10 a.m., council will hold their standing committee meeting. To register to speak, please fill out the sign-up form on the council meeting webpage by 9 a.m. Wednesday morning. You may also call the city clerk's office at 412-255-2138. Also, this Thursday, April 7th at 6 p.m. at Pride Project Incorporated, there will be another public briefing by the Reapportionment Advisory Committee on proposed reapportionment district maps. You can register to speak at this meeting by filling out the sign-up form on the council meeting webpage or by emailing city clerk's office at pittsburghpa.gov. Is there any other thing for members? Mr. Kraus first.
Councilwoman, is yours more about the zoning bill? I'll have you go first.
Actually, it's not. It's about the food report from the URA.
Okay, go ahead, because I might be a little lengthy.
I'll try to be brief.
I'll try to not be.
Okay. So I just wanted to take a moment to make comments about the bill that council received today, 2022-0238, which is the communication from the URA. They submitted on time, thank you to the URA leadership, a report on their programs and initiatives that support Pittsburgh's food system in relation to the bill that council passed late last year that I sponsored, Bill 952 of 2021. And I just wanted to give some highlights. This has been emailed to all members. We haven't really begun to dug into it, but you have a few data points in a PDF that was emailed to you. And we also have the raw data. I believe they went back 10 years and looked at every business that they had done either lending or technical assistance to. And we think we're kind of targeting in the right places or in the wrong places. If there's a different kind of business or in a different part of the city that has been missing or we'd like to shift focus on. So it gives a place to start, I think, a more expanded conversation. But I'll just read off some of the highlights. In the last 10 years, there have been $11 million in lending to 152 different food-related businesses or businesses that participate in the food system. If you combine that with technical assistance, there's been nearly 13 million invested into 251 businesses that have resulted in over 1,000 jobs, about 1,041 jobs. And I think one of the things that we want to keep in mind for ourselves is that food systems businesses are often lower barrier to entry than other kinds of industries and businesses, lower amounts of capital involved, certainly more participation from both minority and women-owned businesses. So these are our residents who, if are inclined to start on a path of entrepreneurship, there's a lower barrier to entry into these kinds of industries, and this industry specifically the food-related businesses. And so 55% of those loans were to minority and women-owned operated businesses. And so again, we've got a list here, a data set of each and every one of those businesses and where they are and what they did. But some of the bullet points here, that's not all restaurants is, I think, an important thing to keep in mind, although all of our city neighborhoods do appreciate having bricks and mortar restaurants and cafes and businesses in their neighborhoods. Some example is the Catapult Culinary Program, which just recently announced 15 local businesses participating in the inaugural cohort of a 12-month business incubator program for minority food-based entrepreneurs. They're still in developing a farm a lot program, which is similar to the city's Adopt a Lot program that offers leases on publicly owned property for commercial agriculture and small-scale farms. The URA has a collaboration with Food 21, which I believe is an spinoff from CMU, possibly, which is on a banquet hall, a catering incubation center, a culinary education and demonstration center, and a potential food manufacturing space in Larimer and Councilman Burgess's district. And so you see the kind of the kinds of businesses that are supported in the food systems rubric. A food cart park, an incubator space in Uptown, land transactions for long-term ownership of Hilltop Urban Farm, which has been secured and was participating with the, participation with the URA. So I know this was something they weren't expecting to have on their plate. And I gave them, I think, a 4-month timeline, and I really appreciate that they returned it on time. And I'm really excited to kind of start the conversation among members and with our community organizations in our neighborhoods to see how we might better meet the needs in this industry. It wasn't very brief. But thank you, Mr. Kraus.
Thank you very much, Mr. Cross.
Yeah, thank you very much. So this past weekend, myself, my chief of staff, Bob Charland, the president of our Southside Community Council, Barb Rudiak, and a board member of Southside Community Council, Kathleen Petrilla, traveled to DC to attend a responsible hospitality conference. And the myriad of topics at the conference really was about how food, beverage, and social businesses were able to survive pandemic and how they would thrive post-pandemic. But the number one topic of conversation and the largest breakout session we had that was absolutely packed was the topic of gun violence in nightlife. We were unfortunately reminded of how that takes place in Sacramento this past weekend, where 6 people died and 12 people total were shot. And a city is reeling from a mass shooting that took place directly related to nightlife. It was a real wake-up call for everybody that was there, because the shooting took place on Friday night. We were all trying to process it on Saturday morning, and Sunday was the gun violence discussion. There were leaders, community leaders, elected officials, law enforcement officers, business improvement district people. They're all wrestling with this this burgeoning problem, which is too simple a word, of gun violence in nightlife. And to sort of piggyback on what the councilwoman was just talking about, happening at a time where food, beverage, and social businesses are trying to reinvent themselves. No one has been harmed more through global pandemic in the last 2.5 years than these businesses. And we heard from the mayor of Santa Monica that, not Santa Monica, forgive me. Thank you. That among his concerns, not just the loss of life, was the fact that this will create an environment where people will fear returning to these areas, and that as we're trying to reinvent our downtowns and our business quarters, that these kinds of things, above and beyond loss of life, will have catastrophic effect on our attempt to reinvent these business districts. So I was able to speak with Deputy Mayor Jake Pollock on Saturday morning. We had extensive conversation. Mayor Gainey was kind enough to call on Saturday afternoon. We had extensive conversation. And then yesterday morning, a long conversation with Mayor Gainey, and yesterday afternoon, again, an extensive conversation with Deputy Mayor Pollock about how we, not just as a lone city, but we in partnership with major metropolitan areas around this nation are going to deal with this epidemic of gun violence in nightlife districts. What we know for fact by data, and the councilwoman, I love how she's always so data driven. We know that these mass shootings are introduced by overcrowded areas where they are first precipitated by a fight. We heard from law enforcement officer after law enforcement officer after law enforcement officer at the conference that no one settles these fights physically any longer. They are settled through gun violence. And we witnessed that on Friday night in Santa Monica. Santa Monica, why am I? Thank you, Sacramento. So anyway, I just want to say how much I appreciate the time that Deputy Mayor Pollock gave yesterday and Mayor Gainey gave yesterday. And I don't want the public to think that somehow this is not on the radar of this council and this administration and our public safety officials. And so we are collectively trying to put together a list of people and agencies that need to be assembled to understand how we as a city are going to be ahead of this and be proactive in our approach. I said to the mayor yesterday, I said to Deputy Mayor Gainey or Deputy Mayor Pollock yesterday, that our message now is to be front and center on how we are taking proactive and thoughtful approach to prevent any kind of mass shooting taking place in nightlife, and not to be the law enforcement officers, the mayor, the city agencies, and the council members standing on CNN offering thoughts and prayers because we have had extensive loss of life here in Pittsburgh. And so the reason for my comments really, as much as anything, is to calm or any fears that the public may have that somehow we are not cognizant of it, and to offer my sincere appreciation to Mayor Gainey and Deputy Mayor Pollock for the time they offered yesterday and the constructive input they offered yesterday, and their commitment to the assemblage of the right people to address this. So, and I thank members for giving me the moment to put that out there. And it's all too much with us, is it not, Councilman?
So two things. One, thank you very much, Mr. Cross. I think what you said was correct, eloquent, and complete. I will not speak as much about that today. I will in the future, near future, I think, have a lot to say about gun violence in general and the ways in which we can prevent it. I've spent most of my career on council, and before council, some of my career doing that. And so I hope to, in a more formal way, have that conversation in the near future. On Saturday, I was with the mayor and we went to a memorial. A young man that was shot, kids sponsored their own memorial service and had pizza and hamburgers and balloons and a celebration of life. And I was very struck by the young speakers talking about, from their perspective, about putting down guns. And one little girl said something that struck in my head. I shared it with my church on Sunday. I would share it with you today. She said, I don't know, young girl, I do not know what else to do. So I think we should just pray. And she began to pray. And I was reminded of what the book says: if my people who are called by my name will humble themselves and pray and seek my face and turn from their wicked ways, then I will hear from heaven. I will forgive their sins and I will heal their lands. I think we have to do both, right? We have to, as elected officials, we have to do what we know is right and gathering the resources to do both immediate and intermediate and long-term strategies to reduce violence. But there's also a place for those of us who believe in prayer and who will pray that God's power will heal our lands. And that is certainly my prayer every night. And I hope those of you who believe in the power of prayer would join with me daily with that affirmation and that plea to God. But again, we thank you for your.
May I just
Sure.
add one more thing, Councilman? The loss of life, regardless of the number, one or
Yes.
beyond, is tragic.
Yes, awful.
The conversation that I had with Deputy Mayor Gainey or Deputy Mayor Pollock and Mayor Gainey yesterday was about random acts of violence that rear their ugly head. You know, they shock us because they are so random, and any one of us could be a victim of gun violence at any moment in time. What separates this fertile soil for mass shooting and nightlife is we know the conditions that exist. We have seen time and time and time again throughout the nation that if certain environment is permitted to take root, that we know it becomes ripe for mass shooting. And that is where I believe we have this opportunity to understand what precedes these mass shootings and to take preemptive, proactive, and intelligent approach to do the very best. We're not looking for perfect here. We're looking for good. That we know in our heart of hearts we have done our obligation to plan for success and not to police a failure. And that's what I'm advocating for here, is that we take the lessons that we have learned and make them applicable to here in Pittsburgh, so that we, again, I don't know how better to say this, that we can stand proud to say that we did our best to intervene to prevent, and not be the next city on CNN offering prayers and thoughts and prayers because of a massive loss of life that clearly could have been prevented with proper planning and strategy.
Thank you very much, Councilwoman Strasburger.
Well, thank you both for your eloquent words. And the only thing I'll add is I am absolutely keeping the families of those and friends of those affected in Sacramento in my heart, as I am with those affected by Parkland as the sentencing trial begins there and new trauma emerges because of that. And of the families of those who have been affected in the spike in violence here in Pittsburgh, right? You know, our neighbors right here in Pittsburgh. And I agree that this is a big enough challenge, scourge, that we have to all play a role. And I've heard a couple of different people talking about, you know, council members talking about different roles that they can play. And I'm here to support. I'm here to support in whatever way that I can. And I see, you know, one way that I can play a similar but slightly different role is, you know, having taken policy just about as far as I could, along with Councilman O'Connor and support from council and the previous administration at the city level, and recognizing that one of the major reasons why it was not a 9-0 vote in favor of those you know, sensible gun regulations was because there was the fear of repercussions around preemption, around jurisdiction. That said, you know, we really do need to all raise up our voices in favor of sensible gun regulation and laws at the state and the federal level. And I wanted to just make sure everyone knew that Ceasefire PA does have a statewide lobby day coming, able to make it, but I'm spreading the news within my networks. And even if we don't have the opportunity to all go together at that particular time, you know, I would be more than happy to take the lead on organizing a council trip to Harrisburg to fight for these laws that we know Pennsylvania legislators have the power to implement, that are largely favored by voters, and that some of which are actually even bipartisan. So I just wanted to mention that, you know, for my part, I would be happy to sort of fill in the gaps on policy at the local and state level.
Other members? I do agree, and thank you, Councilman Strasburger. I think it's going to take a unified, comprehensive, and coordinated approach, both locally and then reaching out to state and federal officials. And so, again, I intend to talk a lot more about this publicly, hopefully in the next little while. And so we'll see how that goes. Any other conversation?
Well, then, just one last piece, and I swear I'll let it go. But one of the more troubling components that we learned about this weekend is this this concept of ghost guns, which I'm learning more and more about, where one is able to purchase parts through internet.
Yep.
Like
Similar.
assemblage of firearms. They're like burner phones, if you will, and you can assemble handguns, use them in the commission of crime, discard them, and there's no serial numbers, there's no tracking, there's no way to track or hold accountable. And you know, I'm sure you remember my passion around guns and gun violence from the very first day I sat in this seat, and you know, working with you know, Councilman Peduto then, and Shields, and passing Lost and Stolen, and working with Ceasefire, and you know, doing everything in our power to advocate for sensible gun legislation. And we sit here 15 years later, and it's worse today than it has ever been. And what I heard from literally every major city in the United States that attended this conference is that they have surrendered the thought that they can somehow control handguns. And how the argument became one of is how can we just keep them away from how can we just keep them away from nightlife? And some cities in Milwaukee worked with the Responsible Hospitality Institute after they left Pittsburgh and have had some amazing results. And one of the things they are doing with their dedicated unit to police nightlife is to severely restrict parking to keep cars as far away from nightlife venues as they possibly can, because they've learned that most guns are stored in cars, that the data shows that once a fight breaks out, oftentimes the actor returns to the car to get the gun to come back to do the shooting. That's one proactive way that they're doing, is trying to limit the accessibility of the gun, not to stop the gun, but to limit its use in a nightlife area that way. We know also from local data too, how many handguns then are also stolen from parked cars at night because people leave their guns in their cars unattended. But I tell you, what I took away from the conference more than anything else was just the terror that I saw in public officials' faces that somehow the genie was out of the bottle, and we were not going to be able to craft an answer as to how to resolve it. Thank you. I'm done.
It started with the Obama administration, the fear of having the first African-American president fuel the sale in guns. That sort of switched with Donald Trump, which the fear of now this unnamed group of people going to take away the rights and the suburbs. We've had more gun sales. Gun sales are surging. There are over 300 million guns on our streets, more guns than people, and the armaments have changed. Now these young people have larger clips, and they now can purchase online the capacity to change their semi-automatic weapons into automatic weapons, which is why you now are seeing 17, 20, 30 rounds at crime scenes, because they're using these modified weapons that discharge. And you may, and at that rate, you don't have to be a very good shot, right? If you shoot 15, 30 bullets, the odds of you hitting something goes up very, very quickly. And so the amount of guns has become very frightening, but the type of guns in many of our inner city neighborhoods have become just frightening. But there is hope. We can stop this. We can reduce this. I'm a believer of that. That's the work we do. Again, I hope to become extraordinarily active in this space. Once again, I have been active privately, but I hopefully in a public way can provide perhaps a little bit of help. And so, and advice, just having been here a long time.
I swear, just one last thing, Councilman, I swear that those that believe this is somehow race-based in some way, and that this is only affecting or affected by African or Black American people, they're grossly ill-informed. If you do a research on spring break in California and Florida, what you will see is hundreds and hundreds of educated, white, privileged young men and women showing up to spring break with caches of semi-automatic weapons that officers are confiscating by the hundreds and hundreds. We have lost our flipping minds. That is the root of all of this. And God help us is about all I can say. Thank you.
With that, Mr. Coghill.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Well, since we're talking gun violence, I just wanted to bring up, I had a meeting last night. We had a rash of murders in Brookline and Carrick lately. First and foremost, I want to thank the Gainey administration. I mean, they came out in full force last night for us. A lot of emotional, testimony. Mother of a child who was murdered only not even a year ago was there, and she offered her testimony to us. We decided to go on the offense in Brookline, meaning, we just wanted to get people together. We wanted to talk about, first and foremost, we wanted to listen to them, hear their concerns. Secondly, we wanted to make sure we informed them of everything and anything we know. And more importantly, let them know that the city of Pittsburgh is on it and, working vigorously to solve these crimes. Third, and most of all, for me, I had my first experience the night before, or the night after this, Mr. White was murdered up in Brookline. I got to meet the Stop the Violence team and the resilience team. I had no idea what they do. I never thought I would even need them in my neighborhood, to be honest with you. But I was really, really impressed. And Cornell Jones, who I thank you, Mr. Wilson, and Madam President passed his name along to me. I called him at midnight, the night of that murder. He made sure there were people out there in vans and orange vests, and they were, just a resemblance of safety. And I was really impressed with the Stop the Violence so far. And as to the resources that we put into that, I find very worthwhile. And, overall, there were murders throughout the city and gun violence everywhere. But I just really wanted to take the time to say, I think we made a good investment in Stop the Violence Fund. I really wanted to thank the Gainey administration for coming out. And if anything, we at least calmed some nerves, I think, last night. So that's it. Thanks.
Thank you very much. Anything else from members? If not, I'll entertain a motion to excuse the absent member, approve the minutes, and adjourn the meeting.
Moved.
All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, there's nay. We are adjourned.